what's in the body, right? So like what's going on in my body right now as I'm putting
Yeah.
these words down on paper, right? Like what do I
Yeah.
notice? Like what are the sensations that I'm aware of right now, right? And
Yeah.
like what's under that for me, right?
That's right.
To where I'm constantly wanting to direct it towards, these positive aspects, right? Right?
I don't want to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
don't want to feel it.
what if you felt it?
Yeah. That's the big question. What would how far down the tier train could I go before I can get back?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the that's the that's the question. What's the risk, right? The risk is okay, come back, come back, come back. But I think even yeah.
Well, and just to be clear, like also just wanted to name this, like honoring whatever your speed of trust is around all
Hmm.
of that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really like this work that we do is about moving at the speed of trust,
Hmm.
and not faster or not slower, but just at in that sweet spot, right? And that's different for everyone.
Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. My name is Ashanti Branch, and I'm really glad you've joined us. Today's conversation is with Malcolm Dydo. He's the director of the Freedom Within Prison Project. We know each other from a long time ago through men's work with the Mankind Project. Um, and I think today's conversation actually was a little unexpected for me because I didn't know what I was going to write on the back of my mask until we kind of right before the show. And I wrote that Father's Day is really hard. And as you know, we're recording this the week before Father's Day. And right now, this year, Father's Day has been bringing up a lot of emotions that I haven't felt in a long time, if ever. I think I've been bringing more awareness to some of the barriers that have been between me and trying to do this book writing project. I think I've been bringing up a lot of barriers between me acknowledging that not only um, does the trauma that I was born into from my father's death 3 months before I was born, that my grandfather passed 1 week before my father. So leading up to my birth, I lost both my paternal father. Well, I lost both my father and my paternal grandfather. I think that in this conversation, we just get a chance to talk about the work that we do in Ever Forward, that I get to do with young men, providing a space for them to just talk about all the things that go on in their life, and the work that Malcolm does in the prisons, talking to men who may not have had anyone to talk to before. So they may have made different choices if they had some mentoring in their life. We never know. We can't assume that that would have solved it. But what I have seen is it definitely benefits those who have mentors. And most men that I've talked to who have either been incarcerated or who are currently incarcerated talk about wishing they had someone to go to, wishing they had more resources, wishing they had more support. And I think that we oftentimes expect the support to come from the family structure, mom, the dad, siblings, uncles, aunts. And we know that all families are not created equal. And so, although this conversation is not about family per se, these conversations are about whatever the men talk about. And today we talk about a lot of those things. As you probably have just experienced Father's Day, this episode will come out after Father's Day. Depending on your relationship with your father figure, your connection to fatherhood, and maybe even just father time, maybe this Father's Day may have treated you in some ways that you didn't expect. I hope it was beautiful. I hope it was celebratory. But for those it wasn't, I want you to know that I understand. I don't understand all the intricate details, but I understand the feeling of it not being a day of really celebration. Um, and I just want you to know you're not alone. So please enjoy this conversation today. I hope that you have been a part of what we're doing in this movement. If you haven't yet made a mask, I invite you to do that. The front of the mask are the things we gladly let the world see. The back of the mask are the things that we don't normally talk about. You can make your mask anonymously at 100kmasks.com. And we have a new site coming out in about a week or two. So just this summer, let's just put it that way. I don't want to give you a date yet. This summer, the new version of the app will come out, of the web app. And we hope that you will begin connecting with it and using it between you and your family, your friends, your community, your colleagues, because we believe that it's going to have an opportunity to help a lot of people. So in this work, we know that we want you to know that we appreciate you. We thank you for all you do to support yourself and those around you and those you care about. And as we're hitting into the summer months, and definitely here in the U.S., the heat of the summer months, we ask you to keep taking care of each other, take care of yourselves. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for being a part of our work. Please share this with somebody who you think can benefit from this conversation. And we look forward to talking to you soon. Ever forward, folks. Welcome to the Taking Off the Mask podcast. I'm so excited to welcome our guest, Malcolm Dydo. Malcolm, welcome to the show.
Ashanti, it's great to be here. Really happy to be joining you in this space.
I'm glad to connect with you again, brother. I would like to let our guests to introduce themselves, like take a minute or so and tell us about you, what you want people to know before we jump into this work around these masks. But we'd love to have you introduce yourself.
Yeah, happy to do that. I'm noticing that even the invitation to introduce myself brings up that whole mask piece, right? So, like, what is it that I want the world to see and hear about me, right? Like, what do I want to project, and then what's behind that, like what's under that, right? So, even that, like, I've got it out in front of me right now as I speak. But having said that, I'm the executive director and a lead facilitator with Freedom Within Prison Project. We have been working with the incarcerated population for well over a decade. And simply put, our mission is to restore wholeness to individuals, communities impacted by incarceration through a path of compassion, insight, and accountability. So I'm just really grateful to be sharing a little bit about what we do with you today. And I'm really not, to be perfectly honest, I'm not interested in putting a whole lot of focus about me and my background. I'd much prefer to center the work and center your work and see how we weave those together. But I have been doing this work for over a decade and feel honored and privileged to support that community in whatever way I can. And the truth of the matter is, it's about collective healing. It isn't about me having any particular skills or wisdom that I feel like men and women inside need to acquire, right? That's not the space that we're coming from. We are co-creating a container that can support collective healing and transformation.
We and man, I think there's a lot of intersecting places of how my life connects to not only the work that you do, but the life of my family members and things like that. That is that I'm excited about in this
Yeah,
conversation. So thank you for the work you're doing. Um, I talked to you before the show. I was saying, when we have guests that I've never met before or ones that I've met, I'm really glad that you and I have had a chance to meet in work around men's work,
yeah,
through the Mankind Project and that circle, that men's organization. But it's been a long time since we've connected. And so I'm really glad that we reconnected. I was seeing some of your work out in the social media world, and I was super inspired and just my heart was touched. And I'm glad we got to reconnect again.
Yeah, likewise, brother. And for what it's worth, I'm definitely in the Ashanti branch fan club for sure. Yeah,
Well, what I'm really excited about today in these conversations I get to have with men all over is that, it's that I try and be. We're in the work. We're gonna do the work together. I'm not here to like pound you with questions. Like, you're gonna share a mask. I'm gonna share a mask, and the conversation will weave where it needs to weave, and we'll take it, and we'll know when it's done. We'll be like, yeah, that feels
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
I trust that there's no questions written. So I don't even have I don't even have any, right? So it's really in that really beautiful way of two men coming together and of all of ages. We've had youngest as 15, and we've had my mentor who's 70, 60 something, right? So
Right, right.
like men of all ages who get to come and just what it would be like to be able to have these conversations more less planned and more
Right,
just
exactly, exactly. So if our goal or one of our objectives is to have an authentic conversation, like, yo, let's throw out the script, man. We don't need that in this space, right? We're
that's
just
right.
going to show up and be in relationship to one another.
That's right. That's right. With that said, like we use this tool of the mask as a way of just giving a common focus of where it can start, and then where we let it go where it has to go.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
with that, we let the guest decide who goes first. Either the guest decides they go first, or the guest decides that I go first. So and we're open to any solution around that.
I'm ready to jump in, man.
Okay, all right,
I'm
then
ready to
I'll let you
jump in.
go. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. So what we do is you do the first, you do the front, say whatever you want to say about the front, and then I'll do the front, and then you do the back, and we'll do the back. So we'll do front, and then back, back.
Got you.
All
Got you.
right.
All right. So here's my front right here. So these are some of the things that I allow the world to see, right? So competent, smart, and caring. And what's interesting about these masks that we wear, right, is that we talk a lot about what's authentic, right? But although I might project these certain parts of myself to the world, it doesn't necessarily imply that they're inauthentic, because these are parts of me, right? Like,
That's
I actually am a reasonably smart guy. I'm
right.
definitely caring and empathetic, right? And then most days I'm fairly competent, right? So all of those parts are true. And as the conversation gets deeper, we talk about, yes, like it's a both and. All of that is a part of me, and what's under that, right? What's under that? So just trying to think if there's anything more I'd like to say about that. Yeah, there's a lot behind especially the smart and competent parts of me. There is a whole wounding for me that drives the smart, competent parts of Malcolm. So I think it's really important as we dig in a bit deeper to center those wounded parts of us that drive parts of myself that actually serve me in many ways, right? That have done a lot for me. And yet there's this whole other dynamic around them that we need to shine a light on.
Yeah.
I need to shine a light on.
Oh man. And that shining the light is a piece, right? It's like okay, and I think that amazing that. Well, I'm gonna show you my words, and then we'll see how they happened. Um, so I, I'm always kind of creating new new shapes. Trying not to. That's my mask, and I wrote
Nice.
here with my best teacher writing: funny,
Love it.
serious, and hardworking. And sometimes I've been writing caring as a word that I I've been writing it recently. I didn't write it today for some reason, but I've been adding caring in. Like normally, I like to keep things light. I learned how to laugh a lot of things off growing up. So funny is what I try and show.
Yeah.
Serious, like getting down to work, getting down to business, getting stuff done, and hardworking. And I think, like, just in my work of running this organization, I found them bumping up against each other, right? Because I'm trying to keep things light and funny. When I'm being serious, sometimes it's not being totally clear.
Right.
And so therefore it's getting missed that I'm actually trying to give you some direction of where I want you to go. But because I'm trying to say it light, like, hey, I think it'd be important that you let me know if you're going to not show up.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
there's lots of ways of saying, let me know when you're not showing up. But if I
Right.
say it in a way that's trying to keep it light, 'cause I don't want to be too intense. I don't really like confrontation. I'm trying not to let you see that I'm actually irritated, mad, frustrated, whatever. I sometimes am not clear.
Right.
And then by the time it hits the level of like, hey, sometimes people are confused because I've been being so funny and, kind of, and caring. And the reason that caring, I think, didn't fit because I think I'm deeply trying to be not joke funny, but like so caring of people's feelings and emotions that I'm not as clear as I need to be when I'm actually being really serious. And so sometimes my smile has gotten me in trouble in that way, right? Where I'm actually, hey, and I'm actually, yeah.
So are you open? Because I just have a question around that.
Yeah, please, absolutely.
What's the risk around that? What's the
Oh,
risk? What's the risk for you?
well, the risk of like being direct is that I carry I'm in this 6'2", 6'1.5", 300-pound frame. The risk of being serious too much is that I'm threatening and I am menacing and I am mean and I am all the things I've been called in many parts of my life. And now that I'm running an organization, I have to be even more careful because I have other responsibilities now than just getting stuff done in my neighborhood or on my corner or where I live. Right. It's like all these people's livelihoods involved. So the risk is to be a presence that is not creating psychological safety for your team and that people don't want to be there or whatever. So the error that I've found myself doing is cautioning so much on the other side of trying to pretend like I'm not this big presence. I can't even make myself look small on the screen. You know what I'm saying? I can't even I try to go back far enough so people say, oh, he's gonna, but then I can't even see the screen. So I think that part of me trying to protect other people's feelings oftentimes errors on the side of that the so lighthearted and light that I don't that it hits the point where I'm like, now I'm frustrated and now it's coming out for real, but I thought it was coming out before, but it wasn't coming out because I was being so that's the risk. I think the risk I've experienced the risk, and I think I'm learning that risk is I'm willing to, like, I'm not worried about that risk as much anymore. I'm still always worried about it, but I've learned that the error on the other side is confusion and people misunderstanding and not being clear.
Right.
I was saying something, but it wasn't as clear as I needed to have been.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
No, thanks for the question. Yeah.
That's rich right there.
Oh man, yeah. That's this work, and I think that always the front is trying to like be in service of the back, right? I don't think that, like, when you talked about like the stuff on the front is not necessarily hiding, right? It's all part of me. It's part of me. It's not faking it. It's just it's not all complete.
Exactly. And when we do this work in prison or in jails, of course, in that environment, masks are essential, right? It's a matter of life and death. So we're really conscientious about the last thing we want to do is create this binary dynamic, right? Where um, where masks are good or bad. It's not, that's not the work that we're about, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's that kind of dualistic thinking doesn't serve us in doing this work. Like, so we're acknowledging and actually welcoming all of these parts into the space, right?
Yes.
Because when we do shine that light on all of these parts, and we develop some skill and fluency around it, we tend to find that we have more choices available in terms of
Mm.
how we want to be in relationship to these parts of ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's and I think that lends itself to the next part of this conversation, right? It's like, well, what would it be like if we could express more of our full self? I know I get to express more of my full self now after I've done my men's weekend and my trainings like that
Yeah,
than I could before, because I didn't even have language for it before.
right.
I thought that to talk about those things was weak and soft and
Yep,
right. That's what I was
yep,
taught growing up. So it was the narrative that I operated under.
sure.
So to talk about it's not going to happen. And when people talk about it to me, I'm like, hey, what's all this about? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that that's the beautiful work I get to do now is that like I enjoy talking about it. I enjoy not pretending that it's all good when it's not all good. I don't know if I enjoy it. I would say I want to be careful about the word enjoy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still very hard, but I appreciate that I'm willing. I appreciate that I'm willing to let myself uh, accept it more.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think that a lot of that cultural narrative that we're all exposed to and all internalize on on varying levels, right? Um, I mean that has such a direct there's such a through line there between that and a lot of the folks that we work with in prison, right? Um, because that cultural narrative and their internalization of that cultural narrative has everything to do
yeah,
with why they're serving 10, 20, 30, 40 years in state prison.
yeah, yeah. And the I think the narrative and the rules, the unpublished, unwritten, but absolutely clear rules of of what what not following those rules will happen out there,
Right,
right? Even
right,
though it's going to get you, even though you know what the other side is going to get, could possibly end up. You know what the consequences of not following along with the established
right.
game plan, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Even if you didn't want the game plan to be real for you,
That's right.
yeah. All right, all right. Well, I think we're ready to hit the next part. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, man. I
Okay,
will.
okay.
I will just take a breath, though. I will take a
I'll
breath.
take one with you because I'm gonna need it too.
All right, let's do it. All right.
Yeah.
So settling into the parts of me that I generally would prefer that the world not see. Um, I'm going to tell you something, man. It was hard to pick just three.
Mhm.
Truth.
Yeah.
But these are a few biggies right here. So
Okay.
ashamed, afraid, and inadequate.
Thank you.
So yeah. Hmm. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
am. Thank you. First of all,
Yeah.
thank you. Uh, the back is always really interesting how it lays out when we, um, I'm gonna show it. So this says the light right, mine. So fear of failure, big one. Father's Day is hard, and I wrote sadness about, and I couldn't even figure out which sadness about what, which one am I gonna talk about today?
Right.
I almost left it blank because I was gonna write sadness about death because my father died before I was born, which is why Father's Day is hard. I was talking about sadness about like sometimes around finances and around like the dream I had when I was 15 when I took me off to college to be an engineer and why I'm not there in that category where I went to where I dreamed of being. Just sadness about my brother's mental health. Like it was just almost like which one am I going to write about? So I'll leave it right there and just those kind of ones that are just marinating around me right now. But I think as Father's Day is coming up in a couple of days, that one is the one that's the most difficult right now.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Ashanti. I'm struck by the piece around Father's Day, and it's interesting. I'm always thinking around these particular traditions that we have, whether it's Father's Day or Mother's Day. Whenever these days come up, and I myself am a father, but when Father's Day comes up for me, I'm not spending a lot of time thinking, reflecting on my fatherhood. I find myself thinking, reflecting, and generating empathy for the millions and millions of people in our world that have deep wounding around father figures. And that's what really I guess this kind of speaks to how I operate internally. I'm not generally with these conventional lines of thinking around these holidays, and so it really struck me what you just said, because that's what comes up for me first and foremost on Father's Day, and thinking about all of the men that are incarcerated that I work with who are fathers and have so much pain around that, and a sense of isolation and disconnection from not only their children but their families, and all of the harm around that.
Ooh. This week, what's today? Today is Thursday. So this week, my men's meeting was on Monday this week, and they sent an email out, and my email was so full I didn't even see it. So luckily I didn't, because they wanted the men to bring an artifact from their fathers, and I would have that would have stirred me up so much if I had seen that email. So I would have been all weekend stirred about it, and luckily I showed up to the meeting. I didn't have an artifact, thank goodness. I didn't even know about an artifact, so I only had a half hour moment to like, what am I supposed to be doing? And I'm like, okay, I can just in this 30 minutes to deal with it, as opposed to 72 hours looking around the house. Because I don't have anything of his. I don't have anything except a picture. And at first it was kind of weird because the man who went first was on my left. And normally we go around to the left. And for whatever reason, because I was looking on my phone for something, I was trying to find. I recently got a copy of my father's obituary, and I was like trying to find it. And he decided to go to the right, and I'm like, I'm not ready, right? First of all, I've only realized that this was happening like 10 minutes ago, and so I said, let's just go. And I got to hear just all the other men go first, and then it came back around, and it came to me, and I was still like, I found the copy of the obituary that had been given to me. It was more not a copy; it was more just words from it. And I remember just like not having ever said out loud the scenario of, 3 months before my birth, losing both my grandfather, Delta Branch Senior, and my father, Delta Branch Junior, like
Yeah.
1 week apart from each other. So it more of like I had never said it out loud before. I had read the on paper, but like saying it out loud, like one thing when the words comes out and then back in again.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Like I only recently knew this as an adult man with with adults, and just knowing how it all like landed in my body, right? And how it all, like all the things that I dreamed of, like the wounds, right? The wounds, right? And when he talks about the men who are inside who are either fathers or their own relationships or challenge relationships with their fathers,
Right.
I remember being a senior in high school, dealing with a domestic abuse situation with my mom and her husband, and almost like throwing my future away. I mean, I was this close. I had a paper bag in my hand, about to do what I knew what to do, is to protect. And in that car right there in front of my house, parked on the wrong side of the street, I started crying. And I can tell you, I can tell you with almost 99% certainty that if I didn't find those tears that day, that I would not be here on this side of the wall.
Yeah.
Because I was taught that I was supposed to protect. I was taught that I was
Yeah.
supposed to protect my mom at all costs, even at the sacrifice of myself. It wasn't until like right there in that car, as a senior in high school, on my way to college, like acceptance letters on the wall, like already knowing where I want to go, like my top choice. I already got in. Like I'm leaving this house in less than 3 months, 4 months, right? And I was about to destroy it.
Yeah.
Out of an emotional immaturity, a lack of emotional awareness, even though those words, because I was taught that men don't have emotions. So
Right.
I didn't even know those words existed in a vocabulary that it connected to me. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think this is the first Father's Day I've been able to let go of some more of that tension that I've been carrying around for 40 plus years.
Yeah. I'm struck by the story you just told, and that, even though that you may have not had a lot of those tools or skills, clearly you did create some space between the stimulus and the response, right? And that's everything. That is everything. Whether it's that one breath or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that I like to call it a sacred pause. That has the capacity to completely change the trajectory of one's life. And we talk about that a lot in our circles inside, right? Because, in many cases, that space wasn't there, right? It was stimulus and reaction.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And sometimes you had to go and pick up the reaction.
Yep.
Like it was, sometimes the reaction wasn't even readily available. I drove around the corner to go pick up the reaction. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I kept myself brewing the whole time.
Yep.
Okay. And I remember, I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Thank goodness. And I think that's a great point you put. Like something was in there that was calling me to my higher self, right? I mean, I grew up in the church. I grew up in church. Like I grew up believing problem happens, you pray about it. But I remember when that moment happened, there was no praying about it. There was like, I need to act right now. And I remember like sitting in that car when those tears started running, and I'm just like, oh my God, what was I about to do? Like it was just like almost the praying too. Luckily, it wasn't too late, right? It was like, just in the nick of time, right?
Yes.
Just in the nick of time, just to be like, ooh, wow.
Gratitude for that, brother.
Oh man, I tell you, there's not a day. There. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, as we're sitting here, talking, I'm noticing, like, these parts that I named, the three parts that I named. Um, Primarily actually all three of them, the shame, the fear, and the inadequacy. Um, they're intimately connected to to some really deep wounding that I experienced as a very young boy. Um, so I was abused by my first grade teacher, um, physically and emotionally, and that really impacted my relationship to learning. Um, and it was the place that I developed this belief about myself, or beliefs, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not smart enough. And so the sort of the paradox of this dynamic is the other side here, right? Like, because of that wounding, it's like, I really want you to see, to know, and to feel that I'm a smart guy. Because if you don't know and see and feel that I'm smart, then I'm in danger.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and again, it's like part of that dynamic is like, it's made me have the wound itself. Out of the wound itself is where I want to learn more, right? I want to acquire more knowledge. I want to develop these parts of myself, right?
Mm.
And so it's so fascinating how the wound and the gold just hold hands, right? They are in intimate relationship with each other. In so many cases, we source that gold directly from those wounds.
uh. Oh wow. Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah. Oh. Do I?
Yeah.
And it's almost like in the story, right? In the story of the I forgot the story of Iron Hans, right? Iron John, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he puts his finger. The goal is like right on. It shows up on his hand,
That's right.
right? It shows up. He's like, yeah, it's there. It's there,
Yeah.
and now you got to hide it.
Hmm.
And how often do you have to hide it? How often do you pretend like the goal, like you don't like
Tamp it down, right?
tamp it down?
Yeah.
It's something. And I think that when you talked about like the fact that for people to know and see and hear that you operate as a smart guy is in direct service to the back.
That's right.
Like it's not. It's serving the back, not necessarily, and maybe in lots of different contexts, right? It's serving the back, it's protecting the back,
Sure.
it's it, it's trying to shield us against what people knowing the back could cause.
That's right. Yeah. So that's just such a big part of this work, right? And such a rich part of this work is, like, you know, really, like,
Mm.
honoring that those parts that um, are on the front of the mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how they really have protected us from harm in so many cases.
Something else just came up to me right now as I think about the words I use on the front too, in the terms of in service of the back.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like anytime I would hang out with a friend who had a father, like a lot of my friends didn't have fathers growing up, but I think I remember two of them in particular. Well, one in high school and then one when I got to college. like I think of every time I was at their house or whatever, I was always trying to be in a jovial, like I was not only a hardworking college student for the college time, but when I was in high school, I'm hardworking, I'm funny, I keep everything light. And I think that deep down, I mean, I'm just thinking about these examples of where I was with my friends who had fathers. Like I was trying to protect my emotions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I was trying to protect what I was like, man, I so wish I had that.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
right? Like and so just because huh, even almost at a place of where I want to be seen by a father figure.
Right. Right.
So I want to be on my best behavior.
Yeah.
I want to be funny, smart, hardworking, dedicated, Huh,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
interesting. Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
A lot there.
That's I'm thinking about two fathers in particular. I gotta see that if I was around any other of my friends. A lot of them, like I said, a lot of my community I'm in didn't have them in the home, or at least
Heard.
homes
Heard.
that I visited. But
Yeah.
just thinking about the two that I remember that came up like fast. It was just like, even the I'm thinking, I'm looking off in the distance. My mind is just trying to remember, but also like feeling that like I was really watching those relationships. It was like, one was super stoic and didn't talk almost at all,
Uh-huh.
but was always just there, right? Like present, right?
Right.
And then, yeah, man, yeah,
Woo.
yeah. I think this is a part of what I think is I've been needing to work on around this book I'm trying to write. It's like I tried the other day to go write a letter to my father, like I got something to tell you, and I was like trying to like not make it all like a complaining letter, as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
like I wish you were here so you could have seen this, but almost like let me tell you about this, and I kept going back into the I wish you, like I kept trying to get back into the let me tell you about this amazing thing I'm doing, and it kept going back into the I kept it was really hard to write because I felt myself trying to be in the positive, but my mind, maybe even my heart, kept reverting back to the wound.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Wow.
Yeah. What's in the body, right? So like what's going on in my body right now as I'm putting
Yeah.
these words down on paper, right? Like what do I
Yeah.
notice? Like what are the sensations that I'm aware of right now, right? And
Yeah.
like what's under that for me, right?
That's right.
To where I'm constantly wanting to direct it towards, these positive aspects, right? Right?
I don't want to feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
don't want to feel it.
what if you felt it?
Yeah. That's the big question. What would how far down the tier train could I go before I can get back?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the that's the that's the question. What's the risk, right? The risk is okay, come back, come back, come back. But I think even yeah.
Well, and just to be clear, like also just wanted to name this, like honoring whatever your speed of trust is around all
Mm-hmm.
of that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really like this work that we do is about moving at the speed of trust,
Hmm.
and not faster or not slower, but just at in that sweet spot, right? And that's different for everyone,
Hmm.
and everyone has to assess, what that speed of trust looks like.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's really powerful. It reminds me of one young man in one of our circles who 6 months check-ins, 10, 10. We go 1 to 10, 10. I'm a 10 right every week. 1 week coming in, you get to him. He never wants to check in past. I'm just a number. So, we always just get ready for his, get ready to just kind of go past him, let him say his 10, and then we keep moving, right? We
Mm-hmm,
give him
mm-hmm.
his space, his speed of
Yep,
trust.
yep.
And this week he's like, and everybody perked up when he said, well, this is 6 months. It's been a practice 2 weeks, 2 days a week, 6 months, 10, 10, 10, right? We don't press you. You know. And he said, I'll never forget it. He said, I effing hate my father.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I fucking hate my father. And I remember like getting goosebumps, like, and student over here who's had just lost his father like 2 years before went to rage. Like, right? Like, how dare you talk about your father like that? I
Right,
wish I had my father. I said, slow down, slow down.
right.
You're talking about your father. He's talking about his father. Like, let him finish. Now, it didn't matter to this young man who was about to blast out that this young man had not talked in 6 months. Right? I'm the facilitator, so my job is to kind of be paying attention to a lot of these
Mm-hmm,
things. So
mm-hmm.
I need to protect whenever it comes out because it's going to come out in lots of different ways, right?
Right.
But imagine that, like, finally comes out, and all of a sudden you're about to get shut down. But you know what? That's not just that happening in circles that are safe. It
That's right.
happens other places. We test the water, and we realize, oh, people can't handle my
Yep.
truth. People can't handle the truth of my life, so I'll just keep it to myself.
That's right.
And he almost got to the point. He started letting it out. And all of a sudden, this young man wanted to shove it back in. It's like, no, you can't talk about that. Your father like that. And I'm like, but you don't know his father.
Yeah.
And when that young man got a chance to like talk about what he had experienced,
Right.
oh man, this other young man was like, man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry you experienced
Yeah.
that, right? Like, and it happens. I mean, that was just one circle, right? But how often does it happen that people are trying to let go of some of the stuff, but other people are trying to keep them in the box?
Yeah. Well, yeah, boy, that gets into man. So that's part of what I think that's part of what we're signing up for when we step into this work and when we co-create these containers that we create, right? So when we're circling up inside, I often speak about it being a laboratory of humanity,
Hmm.
and you know when you're creating a laboratory of humanity, I mean, the truth of the matter is sometimes chemicals are going to spill. You might knock a test tube over and stuff might start bubbling up. You got a petri dish over there and a beaker that's boiling over here, and all of those things intersect, right? And it's about how we navigate that moment, because it's going to happen, right? Those moments are going to happen. Um, the other young man in the story that you just told got triggered. He got activated, right? And so it's also about creating a space for his trigger and activation, right?
Yeah.
And like let's breathe. Let's create some space around that too, right?
That's right.
So he needs to be heard, seen, felt by the group as well, right?
That's right. That's right.
And so if that's where the strength of the container really comes in. Like, can we as a collective hold all of this?
And providing tools for those who, at this present moment, can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just
It,
means you got to work on the muscles.
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Whew.
Ooh. That's for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Oh man! Oh man! Oh man! I got a
now,
couple of young.
now I got some feelings activated, man. I'm in the best of ways, but just noticing that a lot is rising up, right? And I'm welcoming it right now in this moment.
Thank you. I think that this work is so important. You know, like I think it's. I mean, we're in the work, and I think we both think it's important. But my question is always like, how do we find those men who haven't yet heard about it, seen it, who haven't felt it, who
Yeah.
doesn't know it? So therefore, anytime somebody mentions it to them, they're like, "No, I don't need none of that."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't need that. I have a great job. I have a great career, right? Like, because it always gets wrapped around if I'm taking care of my family responsibilities, I must be doing all right.
Right.
And so that's why we start early in our work. The young men, like, because we
Yeah.
know that a lot more of the spillage is starting to happen. The chemical reactions are happening in those testing the water days of
That's right.
high school petri dish, and the middle
That's
school one
right.
too,
That's right.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, and I mean, just the work that you do is, oh man, it's so essential, Ashanti, because I can, one thing I can say with 100% assurance is that a lot of the men that I work with in prison, boy, man, if they had just had someone in their life like yourself, the some skillful mentoring, again, the trajectory of their lives could have been very different.
we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep moving
Yeah,
forward.
for
We're gonna keep
real.
one mask at a time. We're gonna keep inviting them to explore that mask. And I think that if we can maybe get people to first explore it, to notice it, to see it, and to feel it, then when they see that stuff on the back starting to slip out or spill out or explode out, they're like, whoa, wait, what's happening? What's happening?
Yeah,
This is not the right magnitude of how I should be dealing with this situation. But I've been bottling up so much of it that now it's about to all unleash
that's right.
on
That's
on
right.
somebody who I care about, somebody who I
Yeah,
don't care about, or whatever it may be, right? And how do we begin to give them tools to let it out in healthy doses, in magnitudes that need in a healthy container, right?
absolutely.
Not only doses but healthy containers, right?
That's
Because
right.
it needs to come out, but it's like when and where.
That's right. And as I think you were saying earlier, is like developing that, that kind of an internal dialogue, internal language, a fluency with those parts of ourselves, right? Like to be able to develop to the point where you notice it rising,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can have that conversation with that part, right? That sounds something like, I feel you, I see you.
Yeah.
Maybe I get that you're coming online to try and protect me, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
So you can just chill.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to try to cut you out. I got you. I got you. But you don't have to be center stage right now. Right? Like,
Right.
I got this.
Right.
Right?
Right. Right. And remembering to come back to it.
Yeah.
Like it came up, okay, I got you. But right here, we need this job. Right
That's right.
here,
That's
we
right.
need this important custody conversation to be healthy. We need this exchange of
Yeah.
pass.
Yeah.
We need this to be okay. Slow. We'll come back to it,
That's right. Let me
and
circle
not
back with you. Right? Yeah.
let me let me get back to you for a minute. Let's just hold on. Just hold on. Right, and remembering to do it. Right, and remembering that you can't leave it unattended
That's right.
for too long because it will sleep out
Oh yeah. That part's coming back online.
it will.
Yeah.
It will. It's like faulty COVID Wi-Fi, right? Like the internet has been so jacked up, and then you get the lags in the computer, and then all of a sudden it's like somebody they catch up at 5 times speed. You're like, whoa, what just happened there? Well, store it up, and then boom, it's like, oh no, I don't even know what you just said.
Right?
I couldn't even hear what you were saying
Yeah.
at the velocity that those. Oh
That's
man.
that's a beautiful metaphor, actually.
Oh man. Well, you know what? I am. Anything else that's coming up for you that you feel needs to be said right now? I'm so this has been a beautiful conversation,
Yeah.
and you dropped some nuggets that I've taken notes here that I'm just gonna come back to.
Yeah, I think what's really coming up for me right now is like as we're talking, I keep flashing on a lot of the faces of the men that I work with, and it's been whatever it's been 15 months, I guess, since we've been inside, um, and through a vast majority of that time, they haven't had access to family visits. Um, so I'm just feeling some grief, actually, right now. Feeling some grief, and I really want to get back inside and uh, get back to this work.
Thank you for the work. Thank you for the work you're doing. I I haven't talked about this on the show much, but my brother has a paranoid schizophrenia,
Hmm.
and he was incarcerated for 10 years. It was supposed to be one, less than one, but because he wasn't diagnosed, he kept doing. He was just in a regular population. He was doing stuff that made sense to him, made sense to no one else, and
Yeah.
his time just kept getting extended and extended and extended. So this less than a year thing for taking $10 from some guy with a brush
Hmm.
turned
Hmm.
into 10 years of just nightmares, and so I just know that there were so many people who went into the. He was down in the Tascadero,
Yeah.
who went into the men's colony to provide conversations and talks. And even though he doesn't always answer the question that's being asked, just having the question asked, you know, sometimes was enough to have a little human interaction.
Yeah, man. Just having
Yeah.
someone hold the space for you is, that in itself is huge.
So thank you. Thank you.
Honestly, I feel. I think I said it. I said it. I said it when we started that I really do, and it's not something I just say. I really do feel privileged to be able to do this work. I mean,
Me too. Me too.
you know, the the things, the transformations, the healing that I have an opportunity to bear witness to, it's very rare and precious. There aren't that many people in the world that have that opportunity, and I'm one of them. And so I hold that with a lot of reverence and tenderness, and I hold it very gently.
Well, thank you. Thanks for holding it. Thanks for being a part of it. There's definitely a need, and I look forward to the ways that our work will circle back around again, and we
Yeah,
just
man.
continue to circle it around as it needs to connect. And so I look forward to the next opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about potential collaboration here.
Well, let's do this. Please tell folks how they can get in touch with you and the work you're doing, support the work you're doing, where are the
Sure.
places they should go and look to find out what you're up to. Please let them know so that those who out there who can get on the board and be able to support, whether it's financially, with talent, or with time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that opportunity. So we're on different social platforms. Instagram at Freedom Within Project, Facebook as well. Our website, which small caveat is horribly outdated right now, which speaks to another piece that we need to we need to get on. But freedomwithinproject.org, freedomwithinproject.org, and I'll put another piece out there is that we're actually looking for volunteer staff at this point, people that might have an interest in coming inside and doing this work with us, facilitating. So I just want to put that out there in the space. anyone that would like to have a conversation about that, that might feel a call to this work, would love to sit down and chat. And of course, anyone can email me directly as well at Malcolm at MALCOLM at freedomwithinproject.org. So yeah, would just love to connect with anyone on any level. Really, just connect with the community out there, because that's what this work is ultimately is all about, is bringing bringing more wholeness and restoration to communities that have been impacted by mass incarceration.
And we will put all these links in the show notes. So folks, you should be able to look right below and click on the links that we hyperlink there for you. So we'll put all the links and all the ways that that he mentioned here to get in touch with them.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Malcolm, for being on the part of the show. It was good to be in this conversation, a dive with you.
Oh yeah, man.
Like old times,
yeah.
Connecting back in a really important and valuable way. I think one thing I said before we started is I wish that that this was like that it wasn't a show. I mean, I wish that it was just men could do it. And so our goal in this work is helping men see they can. That there's no questions. I don't have any script. I mean, we made a mask together and we talked about it.
That's right.
And I think that I wish that more men would find the places that they can do that, find the men that they trust that they can do that with. And I hope that these conversations help them see that it's possible.
As do I, and I think that I don't think it's not about intellect. I know and I feel that that we're helping to co-create this new paradigm.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man, I'm all in. Hey, man, this has been really a rich conversation, brother. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Yeah, man.
If what you heard today you enjoyed, if you've listened to this and you found something inspiring, please like and subscribe to this podcast. That's the best way for someone to find this podcast, maybe like you did. Please tell someone about it. If you know, listen to some of our previous episodes, and if one of them rings out to you, please share it with somebody you know. We also invite people to join us in a face-to-face where they come together with another person to make a mask and talk about that mask together. There's short conversations, about 20, 30 minutes. So if that's something that's interesting to you, please send us a message, send us in the comments below, let us know that you're interested in that. And we look forward to you joining the movement of the Million Mask Movement. And check out our new shirt. I don't know if you can see it, but this is our new shirt, the Million Mask Movement. And so we'll have these soon available, but we look forward to you being a part of the movement and supporting our work. Please consider supporting the work that we do in Ever Forward and in the work that we do in the Million Mask Movement to let people around the world realize that they're not alone. Thank you.